taking notes, which I forget. Alright, just before I start all this, camera's low on battery, so I'm sorry if this feels a bit rushed. Okay, so we're doing Marvel's Spider-Man, elsewise known as Spider-Man PS4. This is a look back but it's a review because I finished recently. Yeah, so let's get started. It's a pretty good game, but I would say it is the best Spider-Man game. But I don't think it's as big as a step as people think. I think most people send out where probably the last Spider-Man game was like Spider-Man 2 or Web of Shadows was the last one they played. This has a lot of inspiration from those older ones that got it to where it is. Especially Amazing Spider-Man 1, the video game, which surprisingly good. I'd say this is what makes this bigger is it's the first to really try to give the Spider-Man game a good character-driven story. To really get into it, it's good, but I don't think it's necessarily great, but it's pretty good. It's just good motion moments of, really hits you a little bit. It's mostly strong at the end, but it's pretty good. It really captures like Spider-Man struggling, but at the same time he's also an adult and more competent, so it is this newer, older Spider-Man that we never really got into. With the Spider-Man and Mary Jane relationship, it sort of got into a lot of their, he's just saving her all the time, sort of tried to get around, sort of grasp around all the problems that would arise with that. Yeah, it was alright, but I just can't help but thinking the entire time that's something they should have talked about like 5 years ago. He's supposed to have been Spider-Man for a couple years. You think it was come like year 3 or whatever. The Miles storyline is pretty decent. Although it just really feels like not as necessary to the story, but more of a set for Miles Morales game and however many sequels, or maybe like co-op in the next one. Who knows? Like when they tried to. Now I do get that they try to make them less of NPCs by having them these little stealth sections for them. They did get a bit monotonous. And they're also, but at least they're kind of easy, and so you sort of breeze through them. Although not quite the worst thing. The Doc Ock relationship's pretty decent. It's like, he admires him. I can't help but compare it to Spider-Man 2, though, even if that is a bit unfair. Just think that Doc Ock was, just liked him better. He's less of a cartoony, maniacal villain. He's more real crazy, sort of, in ways. Not that Spider-Man 2 wasn't cartoony in its own way. But it just felt like a more compelling. But that, again, that is unfair. Spider-Man 2 is one of the greatest Marvel movies of all time. Superhero movies of all time, even. So let's get into the gameplay. It's pretty good. It's pretty well refined. It's smooth combat with like good animations that really help sell it. It's all flipping around, jumping off the walls. In terms of the main story, some good mission design, good variety. But the bosses, I say, are it's probably its weaker points. They're very aesthetically pleasing, the best parts of the entire game. But they really boil down simplicity. Most of them are uh, dodge around, throw a thing at him, and then go triangle to slice up and punch him. But you go back to dodging around till it ends. Um, yeah, it could have been better. There's even like a part where like Deathstroke does a throwing that thing at him to Spider-Man. He's like, "Hey, that's not Deathstroke, Taskmaster." And Spider-Man's like, "Hey, that's my move. It's my go-to move." Anyway, so I think they knew. They really need to step on the bots, I think. The web swinging is pretty good. Like the horizontal wall running is a bit interesting, good detail. The dodges in midair are fun. Really helps things out. The stealth I felt could have done better. It wasn't really well encouraged. It was a bit too. It's also too easy to just sort of triangle in between them. Just press triangle, webs it to them. It was a bit better in Amazing Spider-Man 1, where it felt like they encouraged you to use the environment more. The stealth sections were always indoors, and so less jumping around was available. I don't necessarily want to restrict you so much, just try to encourage it a bit more somehow, when it's needed. The side missions I felt were a bit lackluster. Like I get they're trying to be like a little regular life in New York type thing, but it just sort of, could use a little less of that. Maybe bring in some more minor villains of Spider-Man. He has a pretty good villain roster, so I think they should have had that. And also the gadgets I felt were they were good. They were fun inclusion for a Spider-Man game. But I felt, it's like in Arkham, they have better, quicker ways to use this. Going back to the wheel, I always felt like it paused gameplay too much. The slowing down aim thing was good, but there really needs to be a quicker way to use the gadgets. And also, too many of them were like some different way to damage enemies. They felt more varied in Arkham. The stakes are good. They do what they're good, cheery Spider-Man New York. Just New York's not necessarily cheery. As sort of its equivalent of an Arkham, Dark Arkham, Gotham. Although I'd say some points are too shiny. They have that too shiny problem. I'm not talking about Polgate. It's just sort of whenever games try to do reflections, they always sort of feels like it's simpling out to just sort of this general shine. It looks unnaturally shiny. That happens in a lot of games. And it especially happens a lot around the E3 section. The last one. This game's actually going to be compared to Arkham, and whether or not you like it's probably more about Spider-Man or Batman, which one you like more, rather than the actual game. Spider-Man does certain things better, like the character-driven story and the traversal, and Batman does certain things better, like the world building and bosses. But overall, it's Spider-Man or Batman, which one you like more. There's also, by the way, there's also a pretty good Stan Lee cameo. I'd say it's one of his better ones. That's about it. I'm gonna give this a 9.02.